Welcome to this tutorial on how to set up a Sentinel dVPN node on a VPS. In this video, we'll guide you through the process step by step, so you can easily set up your own node. So, let's get started. When you're setting up a dVPN node, you need to think about the hosting location and the hardware you're going to use. You can host and run a node on a Linux VPS. Here, you can see a list of tested providers, their websites, and prices. You can also run your node on a Raspberry Pi 4 or 5, or you can use a cache network. The recommended hardware is 2 CPU cores, 2 GB of RAM and unlimited bandwidth, but you can run a node on low-end computers as well, although you might earn less. Now, here we've got a few ways to set up your node: manual setup, Linux script, CloudMos on a cache, node spawner, and Raspberry Pi. In this video, we're going to walk you through the manual setup. The first step is preliminary operations. If you're running a residential node, you can skip this part. We're planning to use a VPS for our node, but this step is optional, so we'll skip it as well. We're going to start by installing Docker, but before we do that, we need to connect to our VPS. You can use a program called PuTTY and just copy your IP address in here, and then hit open. But I'm going to use another program called terus, which gives you more useful features and lets you manage your nodes easier. Now we're going to install dependencies for Docker by copying this code and pasting it in our terus window. Hit enter, and wait for it to install. And then we'll copy the official Docker installation script and paste it here again. Then hit enter. And now with this code, we can install Docker. So just hit enter again and wait for it to install. It might take a few minutes, so in the meantime you can go ahead and drink a cup of coffee, or maybe watch some cat videos on Instagram. Now that Docker is installed, we just have to enable it by copying this code. Then, we're going to add user to Docker group. And we're going to copy the last code to apply the changes. If you want to manage your node with a beautiful interface, you can install Portainer, but it's optional and we don't want to go off track, so let's move on to the next step. Now, there are two methods for preparing Sentinel Docker image. First is to use the pre-built image, and the second is to build the image from the source. We're going to go with the first method, so just copy this code, paste it in here and hit enter. And then tag the image by copying this code. And that's it. Now we're going to create a self-signed TLS certificate by copying all of these codes. Hit enter. And now we are going to type the 2-letter code of our VPS location. My VPS is located in Switzerland, so I'll type CH. State is Bern. And city is also Bern. We can leave the rest blank. The next step is node configuration. First, we're going to create a config file by copying this code. And then, we're going to open it. Now we have to edit the configuration file based on our node. Since we're using a VPS, we're going to click on the config for data center IPs, but if you're running a node on your home network, then you should use the config for residential IPs. First, copy the RPC addresses. Now find it in your config file and remove the default address. Then paste it. Then scroll down until you find the listen on port and moniker. Now, we just need to add a TCP port. I've created this file to keep the important information, and I've already chosen a TCP port, so I'm just going to use 2624. You can also use the default port or any port you want, just make sure to write it down because we're going to need it later. And now we are going to choose a name for our node. Let's say, Amazing Node. Now just copy the gigabyte prices. And paste it in here. And we'll do the same thing for hourly prices. Now, for the remote URL, we need two things. First, the IP address of the VPS that we're using, and second, the TCP port that we chose earlier. So just write HTTPS at first, then add your IP address and TCP port. Just like this. Now you have two options for the node type: WireGuard and V2Ray. It's better to use V2Ray because WireGuard is blocked in some countries, so we're going to use V2Ray. If you want to use WireGuard, you don't need to change this option, but in this case, we're going to use V2Ray. So we'll have to change handshake to false. And that's it. Now we can save and close the configuration file. So, hold Ctrl and hit X to exit. Hit Y to save. And then hit Enter. Now we can move on to the next step, which is initializing the config file. For WireGuard, use the WireGuard config. But since we're running a V2Ray node, we're going to use the V2Ray configuration. So just copy this code, paste it, then hit Enter. Now open the file by copying this code. You can change this to any port you want, but we're not going to change it. Let's write down the port number cause we're going to need it later. So 8553, and save. Now hold Ctrl and hit X to exit. Let's add an account key. So, copy, paste, and hit Enter. Now we have to choose a keyring passphrase. So I'm just going to type some random letters and numbers in here. Then copy, paste it, and hit Enter. Now, sometimes you might get the same error that says passphrase do not match. just copy your passphrase again. Paste it, hit enter. And there, we've just created our wallet. Now this is very important, the random words you're seeing are the key to your wallet, so don't show those words to anyone. Now copy everything and save it somewhere safe. For the sake of this video, I'm just gonna save everything in a Word file. Now we have to move the TLS keys that we've just created, so, copy the code, paste it, and hit enter. Since we didn't enable UFV, which is a firewall, we don't need to do this step, but if you have enabled UFV, then you can just copy and paste these codes. If you are running a residential node, then you have to enable port forwarding, but, since we're running our node on a VPS, we're just going to go to the last step, which is running the node. Before we start the node, we'll have to send 50 dVPN to the operator address, otherwise the node will not start. So copy your operator address. Go to your wallet, in this case, I'm using Kepler wallet. Paste the operator address. Type 50, then hit next, and approve. Wait for the transaction success notification, and you're done. Now, we can run the node with the auto restart function, but it's not recommended, so we're going to run our node without the auto restart function. If you want to open multiple terminals and do multiple things on your VPS at the same time, there is a very useful program called Screen. To install it, just copy this code, paste it, and hit enter. For me, it says I already have the latest version. Copy this code to create a new screen session with the name dVPN. I've already done this, so I'm not going to run this code, but if you haven't done it yet, then just copy and paste it. Now, if you are running a WireGuard node, you should use the WireGuard command, but since we're running v2ray, we're going to use the v2ray command. Just click on it. Copy the command. Paste it somewhere. Then for the API port, use the API listen address. For me, it is 2624. And the v2ray port is 8553, which we've saved earlier. Copy everything. Paste it, and hit enter. Now paste your passphrase. Hit enter. And wait for the speed test. And our node is live and running. Now, let's check our node status. First, copy your remote URL. Then add a slash and type status, and open the link. You may see a warning because our node doesn't have SSL certificates, but it's okay. Just click on Advanced and then Proceed. Here, you can see your node's bandwidth, download and upload speed, moniker, and other information. To see if our node is working correctly, we need to copy the address, which starts with sent node, and paste it at the end of this URL, then hit enter. Now as you can see, our node is working correctly, so success is true, and OK is true as well. If you want a better looking website to see information about your node, you can use the node dashboard. Just paste the node address in here and hit enter. It's okay if you see the health check failed at first. Just wait and check again in a few hours or maybe the next day. Now it's been a day or so, let's check again and see if the node we created has passed health check or not. As you can see, our node is online and passed health check. It also shows that it's using v2 Ray, located in Switzerland, and here is our upload and download speed. And you can see other information as well, like the node earnings, active sessions, and etc. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.